Hello, and welcome to Jazz Voices, where we're shining the light on jazz vocalists from everywhere. Today we're chatting with Christie Dashiell about her music journey, which includes her debut album, Time All Mine. Now let's join Christie and Jordan.
Time goes by so fast, so slow, and still it gets away.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like a little bit about your background and how you got into singing and doing music?
Yeah, definitely. So I am a vocalist. I guess I would consider myself a jazz and soul vocalist. I started out, I've been singing as long as I can remember. I don't really remember when I started, but I remember starting to take music seriously in sometime in middle school, so maybe around 12 or 13. But I grew up in a really musical family, so that's what encouraged me to start so early. My dad is a bass player, and my mom is a classically trained vocalist. So
wow.
While I was growing up, I saw my dad touring and traveling the world. And so my siblings and I just gravitated towards music. So each of us played an instrument or two, and that's kind of where it started. I eventually ended up going to Howard for jazz voice, and then later I went to Manhattan School for jazz voice also. So, I've just been studying music and singing and playing as long as I can remember.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I remember seeing you at Howard and just being like, oh my gosh, she's so amazing.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, of course. Okay, so let's get into this. Who inspires you as an artist and as a musician and performer?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a long list, but I have different people for different reasons. So my parents are, I think, my biggest inspiration. Just their partnership and the way I was raised. I grew up watching my dad tour and my mom supporting that, and support. I just love the way they raised us. Because I imagine it takes like a lot of sacrifice to be on the road, but also have children. So
definitely,
they inspire me every day, musically and just personally. Also, my professors, Kanisha Miller and Jessica Settles, I think some of the lessons that they taught me are still motivation for me and very much inspiring. Like when I see them perform or I hear their compositions or anything, I'm always inspired. I'm also super inspired by Esperanza Spalding.
I love her.
I really, really love her, and I love that she's kind of fearless, and I love the way she writes, and I love how strong she is. She seems to be just a really strong person. I also love Shirley Horn, because she's DC born and bred, so that kind of inspires me. I love Stevie Wonder, Donny Hathaway. I mean, all of these people have motivated me and inspired me at some point, I think.
Awesome. Okay. Cool. So I have a question for you. So in terms of the jazz genre, can you see yourself stepping out of that or like doing a different type of music, or do you really specifically want to focus your career basically just in the jazz and the soul aspect of music?
Yeah, I really love that question. I think that jazz is always is a huge part of me, but the thing that I like about jazz is it's so broad, and so it describes so many sounds. Like I hate genres. I understand the need for genres so that consumers and the audience can kind of understand where an artist sits in the whole scope of things. But for my music, I tend to call it jazz for that reason. But to me, it's bigger than just jazz. And I like the title jazz because I think it allows me to explore different sounds. So I can explore soul and R&B and blues and even pop, but still call it jazz because jazz is just that broad.
Right.
So yeah, I think I do see myself exploring other styles of music for sure, but always having jazz as like maybe the center of the music.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. About your newest project, Time All Mine, can you tell us how that all came together and how long it took and how much input comes from you in terms of the writing and the arrangement and the composition?
Yeah, absolutely. So Time All Mine is something that I've wanted to do since I was probably in middle school. I always knew I wanted to record an album. So the process, I think, in theory started when I was a child, but I think the creative process started when I was in college. I wrote a lot of the songs in college, and then the whole recording process took about 2 years from start to finish. Most of the compositions I wrote and arranged. Outside of two, one of the arrangements Alan Johnson did, who's my brother but also an amazing piano player. Okay. He did the Stevie Wonder arrangement. And then the last song, Saved Me, I co-wrote with my cousin Warren Jones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but outside of that, all of the compositions are either originals or arrangements that I wrote. So it was a lot of work, but it's been such a fulfilling process, I think, because throughout I learned a lot about myself musically, of course, but more than anything, I learned about my work ethic and, some things about me personally that I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I'm just, I'm excited about it, and I'm glad it's done, and I'm glad people have listened, and it seems that people have enjoyed the music, so I'm thankful for that.
Oh, most definitely. I've definitely enjoyed it, and I've passed it along to as many people as I can. Everyone loves it.
That support is, it means so much because it's just like you put out this music, and for me, I didn't expect anybody to really listen. I just put it out because I knew that's what God told me to do. But when I hear people say that they enjoy it and they pass it on, and, one song in particular touches them, it really, means everything to me.
Oh, my gosh, yes. I've seen you, obviously not from the beginning, but just in college, and you just had such an original sound and just a great spirit, and I could hear your spirit in the music. So I really appreciate that about you, definitely. And I have, 2 more questions. And then we'll be done. So you performed in the SingOff. How was that experience? Was that the best thing ever? How was that?
Man, so it was one of those once in a lifetime experiences that had you asked me years before I took part in it, I would have never guessed or thought I would be on a reality TV music competition. So it was amazing, and it was also difficult. And I think the amazing part of it was I got to spend 2 months in LA filming a TV show with my brothers and sisters. I consider every member of Traces of Blue, but at that time we were called Afro Blue. I considered them family. So that part was amazing. And just learning music, writing together, learning dance moves, learning kind of the ins and outs of the Hollywood kind of thing was really, really cool. But it was also difficult because I wasn't able to really communicate with my family a whole lot, just because the nature of the show, they don't want you to spoil anything that's happened. And I couldn't really talk to my friends outside of Traces of Blue. And also, it was just, our schedule was really intense. We woke up pretty much at 6 a.m. and went until, midnight or 1 or 2 in the morning sometimes.
Wow.
So it was just a very intense time, and, the whole thing, it just pushed me. It really pushed me. So that made it difficult, but that also made it a great learning experience, too.
Okay.
Yeah. I would never do anything like that again, ever. But I'm so glad that I'm so glad that I can say that's a part of my story.
Yeah. That's so dope. I love that. I love that. And last but not least, well, yeah, this will be my last question. Do you have well, actually I have two questions. This will be a quick one. Do you have a band that you work with consistently, like musicians that you're working with all the time, or do you usually like hire them like for all of your gigs, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, I do, man, and this is an awesome question. Nobody really asked me this. But my band is consisted of my brother, my oldest brother, Christie Dashiell on the drums, Ramir Mendez on bass, and Alan Johnson on piano. And sometimes I will have my little brother, Christie Dashiell, on the bass if Ramir can't make it. And if Alan can't make it, I'll have Noble Jolly on the piano. So all of that to say, yes, I try to always use those 5 people. You know, and luckily I have, you know, two piano players and bass players that I can use. But I think that having a consistent band, when I like study some of the greats like Betty Carter and Sarah Vaughan, I think a part of their sound was, although they went through transitions in their band, they had these units that they would travel with, and you know, you could really tell that they created a sound. So that makes the whole experience to me like magical, when you can see a band that just has chemistry and has played together for years and years and years. So when I'm able to afford it, I always have the same guys with me.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Okay, so last question. If you could give any advice to someone who was trying to pursue music or just get into the industry, what would you suggest, and what has been your biggest learning curve getting into this industry?
Yeah, I have so many things, but if I were to put it simply, I think I would just encourage anyone pursuing this to just be present and enjoy the journey, like, and try to learn as much as you possibly can. And so, I guess to break that down, I would say practice and study and hone your skills and your craft. But take care of yourself personally. You know, don't compare yourself to others. You know, make sure you pray or you do whatever it is spiritually that you have to do to take care of yourself. Exercise. Go outside. Get away from social media. Just as important as it is to, you know, be musically adept and on it, it is equally, if not more importantly, to take care of yourself personally. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Thank you for joining us today on Jazz Voices. You can find Christie's new project, Time All Mine, on iTunes, and go to her website, ChristieDashiell.com, to find out where she'll be performing next, so you can be in the audience. Thanks again.